Imagine a silent forest or a postcard perfect beach. It is the ideal scene for a photo until, in a matter of seconds, it transforms into a biological torture chamber. We have spent millennia climbing to the top of the food chain, mastering the atom and exploring space, only to realize that to nature, we are still just 155 pounds of soft and terribly underprepared meat. Today, we aren't just talking about death, because death can be a mercy. We are talking about minutes that feel like centuries, where your own biology becomes your worst enemy. These are the most painful deaths by animal attacks of all time. Pain, in its essence, is simply a biological alarm system. The problem is when the alarm gets stuck at maximum volume and the switch is simply ripped out. To understand the horror of the cases we will see today, we need to look at nociceptors, the nerve endings spread across every inch of your skin that detect damage. In a standard animal attack, like that of a lion,
death is usually a relatively quick event by suffocation. It is merciful, in a way. But nature's menu is vast and often unnecessarily cruel. Certain animals evolved not to snuff out your light, but to keep it burning while the short circuit happens. Some chemical toxins from insects and sea creatures are designed to hijack your nervous system, sending false signals of total burning or constant electric shock to the brain, without there being immediate structural damage to cause shock or fainting. This is what the famous Schmidt index describes as pure, radiant agony. On the other hand, we have the great mechanical predators. Unlike a surgeon's blade, the jaw of a reptile or a bear crushes bones and tears tissue irregularly, creating a traumatic sensory overload. It is the primal fear of being consumed in slices while you are still able to hear the dry snap of your own femurs breaking. Nature has no ethics, no hurry, and definitely does not work with anesthesia. To her,
you are just a convenient protein package that, by an evolutionary stroke of bad luck, is fully conscious of your own end. It is this combination of consciousness and a biology that refuses to shut down under extreme stress that turns a simple attack into an eternity of suffering. To open our menu of horrors, let's start with something that fits in the palm of your hand but would make an elephant panic: the Asian Giant Hornet, often called the murder hornet. The quarter-inch stinger of this creature is not just a needle, it is an injector for a cytolytic cocktail that literally dissolves human tissue. Victims describe the sensation as if someone were driving red-hot nails directly into their nerves. It is a radiant chemical pain that spreads through the body, turning every heartbeat into a new pulse of agony. And here is the cruel irony. The venom contains a substance that prevents you from passing out for a long time, ensuring you are fully lucid to feel every necrotic blister forming on your skin. But if you prefer something less microscopic and more personal, we enter the realm of brute force with the case of Travis the chimpanzee. Forget the cute primate image from the movies. An adult chimpanzee has the strength of 5 men, and when it decides to attack, it doesn't go for the jugular like a feline would to get it over with. It goes for the extremities. In the infamous 2009 attack, Travis didn't just bite, he systematically removed the victim's face and hands. The pain here doesn't come from an elegant venom, but from avulsion trauma, the act of having tissues and nerves ripped from the bone while you still try to scream for help with what is left of your jaw. It is a visceral, frantic, and unfortunately, extremely slow violence. Leaving solid ground behind, we dive into the domain of the Nile Crocodile. If there were a gold medal for the most efficient biological blender, it would win.
The crocodile uses a technique called the death roll. Once it pins your leg or arm with 2 tons of pressure, it begins to spin its own body violently. Imagine the sound of a dry branch snapping, but multiply that by every bone in your arm being turned to powder. The sensory shock is so massive that the brain short circuits. While you struggle desperately to keep your head above the muddy water, You feel your limbs being disarticulated, one by one. It is a losing battle against a dinosaur that is in no hurry to drown you, because it knows that fatigue and blood loss will do the dirty work. Each of these cases is a reminder that nature has no code of conduct. Suffering is just a byproduct of efficient feeding or territorial defense. However, none of these cases compare to what happens when the predator decides it doesn't need to kill you immediately to start dinner. We now reach the peak of biological suffering, a scenario that seems taken from a psychological horror movie.
But occurs routinely in the islands of Indonesia. The Komodo Dragon. The horror here is not in speed, but in nature's malignant patience. For decades, we believed these lizards killed through a mouthful of bacteria. Today, science knows it is much worse. They possess complex venom glands that inject potent anticoagulants into your system. When bitten by a Komodo, you don't die instantly. The venom ensures your wounds won't close, causing you to bleed continuously and uncontrollably. While your blood pressure drops and a paralyzing nausea takes over, the dragon simply watches. It follows you for miles like a persistent shadow, waiting for hemorrhage and infection to turn your tissues into something easy to digest. But the true climax of horror happens when you finally collapse, unable to lift a finger, but still perfectly conscious. The Komodo dragon does not wait for you to take your last breath.
It begins to feast on the soft parts, the abdomen and viscera, while your heart still desperately tries to pump the little blood you have left. Imagine the temperature of the air, the metallic smell in the environment, and the surreal sight of a prehistoric predator removing your organs one by one. There is no adrenaline that masks this pain. It is a lucid and prolonged agony. It is the moment when biology strips away any pretense of speed and becomes an extremely slow meat recycling process. You stop being a person and become just an open buffet, feeling every inch of your life being taken from you, even before the final blackout. Nature, in all its majesty, does not have an ounce of malice. She is perfectly indifferent to your suffering. The pain we explored today, whether chemical, mechanical, or systemic, is just a biological warning tool that, in these extreme cases, loses its utility and becomes an infinite echo of agony.
Our civilization gave us hospitals and the illusion that we are above the laws of the jungle. But the truth is that this safety bubble bursts with terrifying ease. In the end, the only rule that really matters is, if you are made of protein and collagen, you will always be a valid option on the menu. This makes us reflect on human fragility. Those 155 pounds of poorly prepared meat mentioned at the beginning are the only thing that separates us from the void. Which of these cases made you rethink that hike this weekend? Comment below, but remember to keep respect for those who did not have our luck of just watching. Knowledge is our defense, but fear is what keeps us alive. Speaking of things that keep us looking over our shoulders, what happens when the danger isn't a predator, but a tragedy hidden in plain sight? Next time, we'll dive into the most painful deaths in history that we simply don't talk about. See you at the next disaster.